Ready? Hafa Tiro, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The Senate Standing Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Workforce, also known as REDW, is here today to review and discuss the proposed bills that have been referred to this committee for deliberation and action. At this time, I would like to inform the public that the committee meeting is being streamed live on the legislature's Facebook page and YouTube channel. I respectfully ask all who are present here that before we begin to please silence your electronic devices to minimize any disruptions. I am Senator Karina L. Magovna from the 3rd Senatorial District, chairperson of the Senate Standing Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Workforce. Before we begin our order of business, I would like to recognize our Legislative Bureau support staff who are assisting us today. Today we have our legal counsel, Joe Bermudez, our Senior Legislative Assistant, Jolene Duenas-Tagaboel, our IT, Jonathan Diaz, and our Sergeant at Arms, Benjamin Terlai. I now call this meeting to order. Today is June 2nd, 2026, Tuesday. It is approximately 10:20 a.m. here at the Commonwealth Legislature, Capitol Hill, Saipan. LA, please call the roll.
Senator Ronnie M. Calvo.
Present.
Senator Manny Gregory T. Costru.
Estigat.
Senator Francisco Q. Cruz.
Here.
Senator Karina L. Magovna.
Present.
Senator Donald M. Manglonia. Senator Paul A. Manglonia. Madam Chair, 4 members are present, 2 members are absent.
Thank you, Joe. Let the record reflect. With 4 members present, we meet the necessary quorum to conduct today's meeting. Let the record reflect that Senators Donald Manglonia and Paul Manglonia are hereby excused from today's committee meeting. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of agenda. Can I please get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
Motion to adopt today's agenda.
Second.
Thank you. A motion was offered and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. The agenda for today's meeting is hereby adopted. Next on the agenda is public comment. The floor is now open for anyone in the gallery who wishes to provide comments and testimonies relevant to today's agenda. If you are providing comments, please state your name for the record and the entity you represent. I kindly ask that you keep your comments under 5 minutes to allow others to provide comments as well. Thank you. The floor is now open.
Okay, now we're on. Del Benson, a private citizen. I would like to address, I know the nature of this meeting is the CEDA, I still think is CDA, have made the transition, regarding business development and economic development on the island. I know I suggested a few years back through Commerce that government does some things okay, but let's be real, government people are not entrepreneurs. I think that is needed to be adjacent and working with the Development Authority is individuals who are entrepreneurs that are hired on independent contract on a commission basis to hustle businesses to come to the CNMI. And some of the reasons, if any of you've ever been I call it self-unemployed, when 5 o'clock rolls, your mind doesn't stop rolling when you're in business for yourself. You are on it on weekends, in the middle of the night, but as an employee, and that's why we're employees, at times we can walk away and forget everything. But if we want to be proactive in recruiting business, it takes after hours, it takes on weekends, it sometimes takes initiative to go to a place. And if you had economic agents, individuals, again, they need to be qualified as being entrepreneurs and self-employed that are willing to, and it would have to be legislated that a fee is designated if you bring in a business that can produce, $50 million in taxes, that you can get 5 or 6% of the tax rate. Now, some people will cry, "Oh, we're losing taxes." Let's see. 7% of 50 million versus 7% of zero. We get so hung up, afraid to incentivize and give incentive away that we shut opportunities out 100% because, you know, it's just not going to happen. And people that call up during off hours, their phones aren't going to be answered. And so we've got to have people that can impact directly, work with businesses and companies trying to come in. I have a cousin who was looking at the CNMI. He's going to be getting a tax benefit, a dividend from a company he's been running. And so he was checking out tax benefit places. And he checked the website, and apparently the tax and rev website for how much you pay in taxes is not accurate, because I called an accountant. I said, is this correct? It said it was 35%. So he just bypassed any thought of the CNMI, and he went to Puerto Rico. And there's a community in Puerto Rico that they make tens of millions of dollars in this community of expats. But I'm not subscribing the same thing for individuals. I see it for companies. We wouldn't want 1,000 people coming in that are tens of millions of dollars that they make, because it would drive prices in real estate and it would outprice our people. And so that's where we can go after corporations and businesses and have this as a setup, a step to get into the U.S. markets. But we have to be proactive in doing it. We can't just put up a shingle and say everybody's going to come flocking to us. So I would recommend with CEDA that they consider finding individuals, and I know of several that are entrepreneurs that are willing to do this kind of work, but there can't be sometimes this cheapness that we have of, well, they're entrepreneurs, we don't want to pay them anything. They're not employees, they don't count. And the CNMI is really, I hate to tell you this, it's a bad place to do business. You can't even get paid if you do the work for the government. And we have a lot of dishonesty in that. And money that goes to grants that then they're not paid out, I don't understand that. Now, CDA's what they're trying to do is a little different, but we need to have a little integrity with businesses we bring into the CNMI if we want them to come, if we want them to provide an economic engine. But we will never prosper just trying to generate tax revenue. We have to have a private economy, and being able to do that, we've got to bring incentive to bring people and businesses into our island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benson, for coming in today to provide your comments. Floor is still open.
Good morning, Chairwoman, members of the committee. Thank you for having me here. I'm here on behalf of the CNMI Department of Commerce, Secretary Remy Mafnas. My name is John David Regis. I'm the Registrar of Corporations at the Department of Commerce. On behalf of the CNMI Department of Commerce, I respectfully submit this letter in support of Senate Bill 24-52, which authorizes the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority, CEDA, to utilize its preferred dividend funds to carry out its economic development mandate. The Department of Commerce and CEDA both engage in economic development for the Commonwealth. While our agencies have distinct statutory roles, we share the same broader objective, which is to strengthen the CNMI economy, support private investment, promote business growth, and advance long-term recovery and diversification. This legislation is vital because economic development requires flexible, reliable, and timely resources. That need becomes even more urgent during calamitous times when the Commonwealth must respond not only to immediate hardship, but also long-term impacts on businesses, workers, investors, and communities. Providing CEDA with authority to use funds already within its possession for economic development activities will help ensure that the CNMI has another active tool to support recovery, attract investment, and promote sustainable growth. The Department of Commerce supports efforts that enhance the Commonwealth's ability to compete, recover, and build a stronger economic foundation. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Senate's favorable consideration and passage of Senate Bill 24-52. Signed, Remedio C. Mafnas, Department of Commerce. Comments on Senate Bill 24-57 to modernize and clarify general business license framework. After reviewing Senate Bill 24-57, which proposes amendments to 4 CMC Section 5611 regarding general business licensing requirement within the Commonwealth, the Department supports the intent of the bill. The Department of Commerce supports the objective of reducing unnecessary regulatory burdens and promoting a more efficient business environment, as this is consistent with the Department's mission. The Department recommends also that the Legislature adopt amendments to the bill before enactment. Location-specific oversight remains essential, as businesses operating multiple locations require separate reviews related to zoning, building safety code, fire safety, and environmental health. Therefore, the recommendation is to strengthen subsection B4 to expressly require disclosure and registration of each business location and authorize agencies to maintain location-specific records and permits otherwise required by law. Additionally, the Department recommends clarifying language in subsection B3 regarding businesses operating under the same name of the business entity, as many businesses operate under DBAs, or doing business as. This may cause misinterpretation as to whether the provision applies to the legal entity name, DBA, or both. We appreciate the opportunity to provide these comments and thank you for your leadership and dedication to advancing the Commonwealth's economic development. Thank you.
This is Masi, Mr. Regis, for providing your comments and the recommendations. Floor is still open. Oh.
Good morning, Chairwoman and members of the committee. I'm here to provide my comments on House Bill 24-57 to amend the business license statute. So this is a bill that I agree with and support in not making business license requirements location-based. There are a number of business licenses that get issued every single year, and this would drastically reduce the workload of the staff. And it doesn't quite get rid of tracking locations, because there is a provision there that also specifies that we can request for the locations, but we don't need to get the licenses issued for those locations. So we can still keep track of that data for reporting purposes. The only other thing that I would suggest is the temporary business license provision. That came about because of the location-based requirements. So if a business was to do business in a location where their general business license isn't located at, for example, they have a general business license in Garapan, but the event is occurring in Susupi, so they would have to get a temporary business license for that location, just for that one event. So I feel like if there is no longer a requirement-based license for a location, then I would suggest also removing the temporary business license requirement as well. Other than that, I fully support the bill, and I hope it passes.
Thank you, Director Alvarez, for your comments and recommendations. Floor is still open.
Thank you, Senator Carino and members of the committee. I'm here to also testify or provide comment on Senate Bill 2452. I'd like to commend, of course, I'd like to thank Congress Senator Manny Castro for introducing it and for the Senate for entertaining it and acting on it. As we know, CETA was established by Public Law 22-1, and in that law, CDA became CEDA with the mandate to do economic development, which entails, as you know, a lot of significant costs in terms of establishing a department and such. And since we've taken on this mandate in the last year, since I've been with CETA pretty much, we've built up a lot of momentum. We've actually have investors who are already waiting on the government to act with lease applications and QC applications. And these are new industries, completely new industries for the first time in our history. We also know that because of what CETA has been doing recently, the Marianas has gained a lot of attention internationally as well as in the States. We've been, major publications have issued, there have been articles on the Marianas in major publications around the world. We've been featured in national media in Taiwan. We were featured by the Taiwan American Chamber of Commerce and such. And at the same time, the U.S. Department of Commerce is now inviting CETA all over the world, literally all over the world, not just the Asia Pacific, because we also educate the U.S. Department of Commerce Commercial Services on the economic advantages that we have here in the Marianas, and they were blown away by them. They were familiar, but not fully familiar. So what CETA has been doing has allowed, Public Law 22-1 was a great law. It put economic development with one agency as the lead, right? Collaborating with all the government. So it set the responsibility, but also set, it set who's going to carry on the torch for economic development, right? So it's actually a great bill. And so this Senate Bill 2452 actually finalizes 22-1 in that Senate Bill 2452 actually provides CETA the mechanism, the funding to actually carry out 22-1. So without 2452, CETA literally does not, and being also the financial person for CETA previously, CETA needs this funding in order to carry out 22-1. Without it, CETA does not have the revenue source or the funding. So it could become that CETA may become a burden on the general fund if we don't have this funding. And by the way, the funds that we're talking about here in Senate Bill 2452 are CETA's funds. They are CETA's funds. And at the same time, fortunately for me, just recently, I actually had I met with one of the authors of, if not the main author, but one of the authors of 22-1. And I was informed by the author that the intent of that bill was actually to utilize the dividend funds. And for me, as a financial person, that makes sense because there was no other funding source for CETA to use. It was just an unfunded liability, for example. And then CETA would have problems fulfilling the mandate. And as you know, because we are now going all over the world and promoting, and we've actually came back from another big event in the United States at Select USA 2026, and we generated a lot of interest again. And by the way, at this event, because of last year, we had people come to our booth looking for us specifically because of what we did last year. So we actually have a lot more interest now in terms of even like new industries such as even copper, fiber cable manufacturing, fiber cable distribution, shipbuilding, which is one of the president's initiatives to bring shipbuilding back to the United States. Actually, this region is actually it's a very ideal spot for this. And we're talking about modern type of shipbuilding, not shipbreaking, shipbuilding. And, imagine being able to build ships in America, but here in the region and becoming that center. And that's actually coming out of one of our major markets. One of the U.S. embassies from Korea actually approached us regarding what we offer. And when we explained everything, he said that shipbuilding may be a major opportunity for us in collaboration with the United States. So we're looking at other bigger opportunities as well. So this bill literally will support everything that we're doing and allow us. The reason we're able to do this right now is because we were appropriated $1 million from this fund to use for economic development. So that's been carrying us. But we're going to run out of money soon, and we need to use money that, like was said, is CETA's money for economic development. And again, only for economic development. And our financial system is already set up to only segregate all economic development activities so we can report on it at any time. And as you can see, we're actually achieving hopefully tangible results with hopefully construction starting later, if not the end of this year, sometime next in 2027. So again, I'd like to thank the Senate for entertaining this bill. It is going to address many issues. It's going to cover economic development. It's exactly what we need to recover the economy, what we're trying to do. And on top of just all the other than just funding the department, going to all the promotional events that we're being invited to, but also this money can also be used for, we're also looking at federal grants. And there are matching components for a lot of these grants. And so this funding source will also allow us to be able to pursue grants that have the matching funding source. So now we won't have to worry even about matching funds, for example, how we're going to generate these funds because we have it right here. At the same time, we're also thinking about how we can help, for example, like farmers and agricultural producers with like equipment. So perhaps we can provide the equipment and rent it or finance it some way, but we're going to need funding for that as well. So we're thinking beyond just the U.S. and foreign investment and local investment here as well, but we're even thinking about the development finance side of things as well. Because that's, remember, CDA's bread and butter was development finance. We are not doing investment, but we cannot forget about the other side of things, right? So this bill will cover all of that. And so we're so happy that you are acting on it, and we really hope that it passes, and I thank you very much for this.
Sujus Masi, Director, for coming in to provide your testimony and all the great updates that you just shared to the committee members and to the public who are viewing or will be viewing at a later time. It's always great to hear when we see progress, and this is just one of the mechanisms to help CETA achieve those mandates. So thank you for coming in. Floor is still open. If there are no other members in the gallery to provide comments, this portion of the agenda is now closed. Before we move on to item 5 on the agenda, I would like to acknowledge the presence of, again, CETA Director Derek Sasamoto. We have Department of Commerce here with us too, Mr. J.D. Regis, who is the Registrar of Corporations, and Director Daniel Alvarez from Revenue and Tax. Welcome. Next on the agenda is new business. Under new business, we have 2 proposed bills to review and discuss, Senate Bill 24-52 and 24-57. At this time, the committee invites the invited entities to join us in the chamber for a meaningful and productive discussion on the proposed bills. Please introduce yourselves and your position title and the entity you represent. Thank you. Please come in. JD, feel free to start. Just introduce yourself and your title and the department that you are representing.
Thank you, Chairwoman. My name is John David Regis. I am the Registrar of Corporation, and I am representing the CNMI Department of Commerce.
Thank you.
I am Daniel Alvarez, the Director for Revenue and Taxation, representing the Business License Office.
Thank you.
Derek Sasamoto, Executive Director of the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome again. First item on the agenda is Senate Bill 24-52. This legislation proposes to authorize the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority, also known as CETA, to utilize its preferred dividend funds to carry out the mandates of Public Law 22-1. This bill was introduced by Senator Manny Castro last November 2025. Let the record reflect that the requests for comments were sent to the following entities. Department of Commerce, we did receive their comments today, and they are in support of the bill with recommendations. We also sent requests for comments to Secretary of Finance, which we did receive comments back from her office on January 23rd of this year. At this time, the Secretary is not in support of this bill due to the financial challenges that the CNMI is currently experiencing. And then, of course, we received comments from CETA on February 3rd, 2026 in support of the bill, and we also received comments from the Office of the Attorney General on January 23rd, 2026, in support of the bill. So before we start, I just kind of want to read the findings and purpose of this legislation. because I think it's important that the people who will be viewing or are viewing it right now understands why this particular legislation was introduced. So, under findings and purpose, the legislature finds that the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority, also known as CEDA, was created and mandated to be the primary agency tasked with economic development of the Commonwealth, which entails actively promoting the CNMI as a location for private investment, to promote and encourage development of new businesses within the Commonwealth, to promote the retention and expansion of existing businesses, expand and develop markets for CNMI products, and coordinate, develop, and participate in off-island investor missions to generate interest and investment in the CNMI with emphasis on business investments from the United States. The legislature further finds that a tremendous financial burden has been placed upon CEDA due to this mandate. To accomplish CEDA's goals, it must expand significant financial resources. Moreover, CEDA must hire personnel and create a new economic development department and fund all future needs. Public Law 22-1, as amended, did not identify or provide a matching revenue source for CEDA to implement its mandate. CEDA may have been empowered by law, but the financial means to achieve said mandated goals were not addressed. Thus, the legislature finds that CEDA is burdened with a significant unfunded liability to carry out its mandated economic development obligations. Moreover, CEDA, in implementing this mandate, has generated significant investment interest in the Marianas. As such, CEDA is receiving invitations from United States trade offices from all over the world, such as Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Turkey, India, United States, etc. Moreover, CEDA is actively entertaining investors outside the U.S. trade office realm as well. These promotional events require funding, and in CEDA's case, these funds are an investment into the economic recovery and diversification of the Marianas. It is the prerogative of the legislature to support investments and enhance the economy of the Marianas. As such, the legislature finds that CEDA must be given the authority and flexibility to utilize its preferred dividend funds in its possession, as well as a future dividend deposit to fulfill the mandate under 4 CMC subsection 10305. So, with that said, we now can begin the discussion on the bill. We have the author of the bill here with us today, Senator Manny, if there is anything else that you would like to share.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And I just also want to thank the folks at CEDA and its head, Mr. Sasamoto, for continuing to look for alternative means to revive our economy. One of the reasons why I was really excited to introduce this bill is, to give an example, let's look at another industry. Let's say Department of Public Works or Department of Public Safety. In order for the officers to do their job, in order for the whole system to work, they need the tools. And they still have an issue with things like investing in a forensics lab, right? And how does that affect the whole system? Our veteran law enforcement officer here, Senator Cruz, would know that without evidence, you have no case. So if we don't invest in the forensics lab, the officers and the lawyers that are that go to court, they're not gonna have the tools to support the case, right? So, in the sense of the economy, we are in a slow growth situation, slow or no growth. And if you were to do internal, external factors analysis and use different matrices, the easiest way is related diversification. But in general, we need to diversify our economy. And right now, the wave is, because of what's happening nationally, it's incentivizing a lot of the mechanisms that were designed, to make us self-sufficient. Our covenant agreement, a lot of the laws, in fact, a lot of the original laws made more sense than the revisions over the years. And pretty much some of the legislation that if you notice, especially in regards to the business license one, it's just repealing those new additions that maybe people weren't thinking the full picture. They weren't diving deep into the issue when that law was enacted. But in reference to Senate Bill 24-52, we really need to give CETA the tools for them to help grow our economy. And it really starts there. If we don't have the industry, we're not going to have the taxes and the overall economy, the high quality of living that our founding fathers wanted us to have. And the benefit is this is not a Saipan only thing. This is the whole Marianas. And as I have been saying since I first got into office, we need to invest in our infrastructure. And this typhoon just shows it that we need to dive deeper into our infrastructure, harden it so that something like even like if a typhoon hits, we can recover quicker, we can get our businesses back up, and that's what CETA can help with by bringing up those industries. And in fact, shipbuilding, like what was mentioned earlier, there was a plan for that. Because like, for example, in the military, like the 7th Fleet, like there's nowhere else to go in the middle of this ocean. And even the dry dock in Guam, it's down, like that ship that they have that can service that. So all these boats have to go elsewhere. But with us, our strategic position just puts us right in the middle. So some people might think that's far-fetched, but we just have to bring in the players, the key players, and that's what CETA is doing. There's a lot of people that have said like this cannot happen, that cannot happen. But I've been to places that have proven that despite the size of the population, just like the island of Kauai, they're almost 100% renewable. Solar technology, the energy, the grid there is not owned by the government, it's owned by the people. So those kind of things are examples. American Samoa, a lot of the people that work at ASPA, American Samoa Power Authority, were from CUC. And they implemented a lot of the feasibility studies that they got here. So CNMI paid for a lot of the feasibility studies. And now places like American Samoa, they have 2 solar farms that generate, more affordable power, right? And just to give an example of why we need to dive deep and look at this issue, if a shipyard comes here, they're going to need a lot of power, right? So in essence, the industry is going to end up subsidizing our grid. And same thing with, if we've mentioned the EV manufacturing, if they come here, they're also going to need power, right? So the more industries we get in here, it's going to help. Just like when the garment factory was operational, a lot of them had their own power plant, but just the volume of people we had, the burden was not just on the government or the private citizens. There was industries to feed into. So with the high cost of power, like this is what it is. One, we haven't invested in our infrastructure. We haven't brought in new industry to revive our economy. And this is the intent of this bill. It's going to give CETA the tools to bring in the bigger money, that are going to help our people have a better quality of life. So I thank everybody working in the government that is looking at the long-term picture, because we can't keep doing this band-aid solution stuff. We're already 3 typhoons, and we still haven't improved some of those processes. We slightly, but if we had more money from let's say CETA, we brought in more industries, maybe we would have, like, everything would be our utility can be underground in certain areas, like, so we have to really think long term like our founding fathers did, because I can guarantee you a lot of these guys up here and the other founding fathers, they didn't foresee us to be in this situation right now, because the blueprint they gave us was a good blueprint, and we just have to follow and improve upon it. So thank you.
Masi, Senator. Senator Cruz, anything you want to ask the guests while they're here, or any concerns on the bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I commend the author of the bill. I'm supporting the bill, and I appreciate the comment from SEDA, Executive Director, and Commerce and Revenue Tax. Yeah, I agree with what my colleague, Senator Castro, have mentioned earlier in regards to how to entice our economy by such legislation. Because I remember we have a project contingent, for example, regards from CIP money, that CIP office. But I know that you're funding also CIP, right? Capital Prepared Project, and it is a lot easier and faster to bring in, potential investors to be doing the job in regards to NEPA process. Because when a government does that, it took if it's not a very long time, it's took forever for that to happen. And I want CIP to hear this, because we have a project contingent at West San Jose Village in regards to water infrastructure. But in American Samoa, they came here and they share with us with the solar, they call it banana solar farm. It used to be for banana plantation, but they created into a solar farm. So it was the company that is doing the solar who was the one who's doing all the requests for NEPA. And it took them, I believe, 2 months for that project. The military in Tinian, it took 2.5 years to get that over probably 10 feet deep for that pipeline. Our CRP office, it took forever. So I agree with this this legislation, because bringing in potential investors to help revise the economy is a lot faster than relying on our own. And like I said, in regards to NEPA, I know that it is beyond our control, but I believe if they put the proper people in there to continue to follow up what we need to develop our island, it will succeed. But if we just sit down and wait for them to call us, I think it's not going to happen. So I commend the author of this bill, and I think this will bring better solution to our economy. I yield back, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Sujus Masi, Chair. Senator Calvo, I do apologize for those just listening in. We do have Senator Ronnie Calvo online attending virtually from the beautiful island of Rhoda. Do you have any questions or comments regarding the bill or to our invited guests?
Thank you, Chairman Gosnia. And I would like to thank the 3 gentlemen that are here presenting, Chairwoman. Overall, the 2 bills are very critical. 2457, that was shared. Let me take a look. Oh, let me go back first, because on the agenda was 2452 to authorize a CDA to utilize its preferred dividend funds to carry out mandates of Public Law 2201. And I would like to, just say thank you to all the participants in today's public information, public notice, all of them had great points, most especially in regards to how our CNMI economy is thus far. In addition to having, the director from CETA, Derek Sasamoto, share his intimate testimony working for CETA on two different perspectives, and knowing the bill, Public Law 2201, provides, mandates, but then what we need to ensure is that the funding source, knowing that using CETA, that type of funding source for CETA, helps reduce the pressure of the general fund, needing to require new appropriations and so forth. So we're always looking for how we can creatively finance our departments. This bill actually has that dividend to help source out the services from, the different conferences they go to and promoting our Commonwealth in general, all of the islands, all of the, outside investors from US to how Derek shared, international and import. What was the other one you mentioned? Just manufacturing of big manufacturers. And that's exactly what the Commonwealth needs, is to continue to network with the global world and bring in these people and share our uniqueness of the Marianas and what we can offer. It is, I'm very always, Chairwoman and team, very optimistic, because there's always ways and creative ways to finance things. And this bill, thank you, Manny, Senator Manny, for, the concern was up there. You implemented the bill to be addressed, and this one will surely help. The dividend funds will surely help the organization promote our Commonwealth and get us off into the right foot as well. Let me see. The only thing I was going to ask Derek, knowing these dividend funds, and we do have CETA appropriations, would you foresee that you're going to need future appropriations on the general versus the dividend itself, or is that sufficient enough for you guys to, pursue your action plan for 2027?
Yes, thank you, Senator.
so
So the dividend funds, if this bill goes through and passes and becomes law, yes, it's definitely going to allow us to do everything that we were planning on doing and into perpetuity. And like you said, to ensure that CETA does not burden the general fund, this is why we're pursuing this, for that purpose alone. Because without it, unfortunately, CETA will more than likely, I can see it, projecting it out, that will need help from the government, because it's like I said, it's unfunded liability, right? Like learning from the retirement fund. So our goal is to never burden the general fund while we create, hopefully, opportunity and bring resources into the general fund. And this bill, as you said, will take care of that directly. But you know what? I hope it becomes a problem one day to where we have so much activity, so much investors that we need a lot more money. I hope we get to that point. And hopefully when we get to that point, we have all that money to give. So who knows? Hopefully we do get to some point like that. But for now, yes, the dividend funds as we currently receive it will be adequate for us to manage our mandated activities and hopefully produce results. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sasamoto. And just, Chairwoman, one other thing that you did bring to light is that other point where you're thinking outside of the box, using these inactive or dormant, unutilized funds, or for the purpose of, and finding creative ways to assist, like how you said, purchasing things, going into our food source department and helping the commerce part of it, where we're promoting our own self-sustainability. Those are other cross-driven measures that is great to hear, the educational aspect on supporting the economy and getting the goals in place and developing. So thank you, Senator Castro, Senator Cruz, for your comments, Chairwoman, as I do fully looking at the bill, fully support this bill in in need of the dividends to carry out the mandates that are necessary to move our economy forward. So thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, team. I yield.
Jesus Masi, Senator Calvo, for sharing your thoughts and comments on the bill and full support. It doesn't sound like any of the members have any issues or concerns regarding the bill. I fully support the bill in its entirety. I don't believe it's a very straightforward bill, really. And the intent is clear. And it's exactly what we need to do now, not later, but now. It should have been done years ago, but we're here now. So let's focus on what we can do now and moving forward so that we can allow CETA, give them the tools to fulfill this mandate in hopes that, it will bring the economic activities and prosperity that comes with it, in the near future. This is going to take time. It's not going to be overnight where we start realizing, these benefits. But the time is now to take those steps. So, if there are any objections from any members, I would like to hear a motion to move forward with this bill, adopt it in its current form, and ask that the LA prepare the committee report for adoption in our next session. Can I get a motion to move forward with the bill, adopt it, and ask that the LA prepare a committee report for us to act on our next session? Yeah, so can I get a motion to adopt the bill?
Motion to adopt the committee report on committee level, Madam Chair.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. A motion has been offered and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Senate Bill 24-52 has been adopted by the committee, and the LA will prepare the committee report for adoption in our next Senate session. Thank you. Congratulations, Senator Manny and CETA. We now move on to the next bill on the agenda, 24-57. Again, this bill was introduced by Senator Manny, proposing to amend 4 CMC subsection 5611 to modernize and clarify the general business licensing framework to promote economic efficiency, business growth, and administrative consistency. Let the record reflect that the requests for comments were sent out to the following entities. We did solicit comments from Department of Commerce, which we received today, and are in support of the bill with recommendations. We also solicited comments from the Secretary of Finance, which we again also received today, in support of the bill with recommendations. CETA also submitted their comments in support of the bill, and we did not receive any comments back from the AG's office. So, if I may, again, would like to just read briefly the purpose and findings of this bill so that people can understand why these bills are being introduced and what the intent are and why is it important. So if I may, under findings and purpose, the legislature finds that under existing law, a person must obtain a general business license before engaging in business in the Commonwealth pursuant to 4 CMC subsection 5611. Although existing law contains language intended to prevent duplicative licenses, Ambiguity remains regarding licensing requirements for businesses operating multiple locations under the same line of business. Requiring multiple licenses for the same line of business creates unnecessary administrative and financial burdens on businesses and government agencies. The intent of this act is also to clarify that one general business license per line of business is valid Commonwealth-wide, which will streamline regulatory compliance while preserving location-specific oversight through disclosure and permitting requirements. The legislature finds that this act is expected to have minimal to no negative fiscal impact on the general fund, as it clarifies existing law and does not reduce the fee required for a general business license per line of business. This act is expected to result in administrative cost savings for the Commonwealth by reducing duplicative license processing, renewals, and enforcement activities by the Department of Finance and related agencies. By reducing regulatory burdens on businesses operating multiple locations, this act may promote business expansion, improved compliance, and long-term economic activity, which may positively affect tax revenues. Therefore, the purpose of this act is to modernize and clarify the general business licensing framework to promote economic efficiency, business growth, and administrative consistency. So, again, this bill is very straightforward. The intent is to almost like streamline the process and reduce the financial burden on businesses that have to obtain multiple licenses for the same line of business simply because they are doing business in different locations. I would like to open the floor now to any of the committee members. If you have any questions or concerns on the bill itself, or you have any questions for the invited guests who are relevant stakeholders of this bill, most especially commerce and revenue and tax. Floor is now open for any of the members to. Okay. Senator Calvo, do you have any questions or concerns related to the bill or just to the invited guests who are here with us today?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would like to just go ahead and thank the two representatives for this bill. Department of Commerce Director, that's Director, right? John Regis. Thank you
Yes.
for your comment earlier. And Mr. Alvarez, Daniel Alvarez, Revenue Tax Representative, the director for that. Mr. Alvarez, I know when you did explain, keeping track of the data for reporting and the issues and concerns from your department, it just aligns straight with Senator Calvo's issues and concerns on our local Rhoda municipality. When it comes to small businesses, because we don't have the greater industries, like our state Saipan itself, but we do have thriving businesses that have been open in the market, your local grocery stores, and we have others that have gone into, developing over, within the decade and so forth. And one of the biggest concerns was the one you mentioned, where it's the duplication or the excessive licenses. I'm not too, for example, and knowing us, even Senator Calvo, we do have a food vendor on our perspective that we pay not duplicate, but separate licenses for location. And so I like how you advocated saying, hey, we want to help the local businesses. This is the time. And that's why I see that Senator Manny Castro, the representative for this bill, because I shared my frustration and concern with not only us owning a small business, but those that are trying to survive in the outer, most especially in Rhoda, we're double, triple when we purchase items. And that's usually ever since and King Hines can attest. I know she did a testimony or a rap in regards to the aha moment, when prices are so outrageously high for our municipality here on Rhoda. And it's a beautiful place, but and in general, when we go to Saipan, we do have, the little commerce, food venue and everything that's trying to survive. And this implementation will really set us, apart in regards to being able to breathe, and so forth. Yeah. So one of my, not only the licensing fee per location, if that one can be, exempt and taken out, but we've had also thriving businesses prior, but due to import export, increase in cost and stuff. Let's say, for example, they have a restaurant and they have food handlers permit to run that restaurant, and then doing business as also a local market or grocery store. And then, they would have to have a business license for your, certain specifics within that organization. Food handling, let's say you produce and you issue ice, then you have to have a separate food handlers for the ice machine. So it's starting to get, more tedious when it's, what they're trying to see is how can the Commonwealth help us in regards to our private small businesses survive in the reduction and just having that simple fee to service the people, and that way they can, use whatever it is or even sustain their business instead of shutting down. So those were some of the concerns, and I thank you for that. Even John, for your endorsement of saying, hey, Commerce supports that. Those are some of the common grounds that I wanted to address in regards to the bill. Thank you, Chairwoman. I yield.
Okay, Senator Calvo. I do have some clarifications that I would like to ask to the author, just to be sure that it's clear, and then there's no misunderstanding or ambiguity to perhaps maybe the language or specific words. So when we look at the first page, right, under findings and purpose, I just want to clarify, when we talk about multiple licenses for the same line of business, right, I'm thinking of, like, let's say Jotan or McDonald's, right? They provide it's the same line of business and provide the same service at different locations. And so is this what this bill is trying to do, is instead of issuing license for different stores in different locations, they would just need one? Yes, recognize Senator Manny.
So, Chairwoman, the whole concept of this is pretty much common sense, right? Like, it's not the government's role to tell a business how to organize itself in certain instances, right? It should be Joten, like in the case of Joten, it should be up to their decision if they want to separate their, put, like, let's say Joten Kagman as a LLC or a corporation in itself to protect them from liability, right? And you're separating it. But let's say they weren't as big as they were, right? And let's say they were still small, and like they can, it's up to them if they want to have a separate business license, right? But I think we shouldn't force them, like, you need to get a license for each. But the concept is also more like it actually started in Precinct 2, like when a mobile fish mart vendor contacted me as then Congressman Castro and that vendor was in CK, and she said she moved her fish trailer to Garapan and was told that she cannot conduct business there because her business license says CK or Susupi. And it just doesn't make sense, because it's like just like a food cart. It does not make sense for them to be per location. And we're such a small, community. And at least when I read the original bill that amended that amended the first law, that it said something like like companies were trying to like cheat the system in a way, right? But that's not. I don't think that's the concept here. Is you already have, if you have different industries, you're gonna need a different license. But it really should be up to the business owner whether or not they want to get a separate. And it also penalizes, like the same could be said in Rhoda. Like I don't know if Senator Calvo mentioned that, but if you have a store in San Paulo, and then you have to apply for another business license, even though it's the same thing in the village. We can. The goal here is also. I went to. I'm not gonna say which business, but there's several. They had. The business is really just a wholesale, but they had 6 business license, and they had like import, export, and I was like, that when you look at that industry code, I don't think that was the concept. I think that was more during the garment factory days when you were bringing in raw materials and then you were exporting a finished product. That's, I could see that, but like for just a wholesaler or a retailer to have like 6 different business license, that's already. And there's this trend that like we need to be mindful of, because some of our agencies, they have revolving accounts, and so the permitting, they increase the permit fees because that revolving account links into their fund, and we don't have oversight over that. So, but at the end of the day, the goal of the revolving account is really to improve your operational efficiency. It's not to have a, like just the account you can just draw down from. Some use it responsibly, but some, we have to think what's the main purpose of that. Like let's say if it's for the pavilions, Parks and Rec, or like that's really to make sure that every time people visit a public place, it's maintained. And I know we have a lot of revolving accounts for defense, but when my solar panel caught on fire, the firemen couldn't do anything because they don't have foam, right? So, and that's a big concern, because people are getting. So it's like we give agencies the tools, but at the same time we still have to do our oversight on what's going on, because it's not the frontline people, like it's not the firefighters. They know what they need, but somewhere along the line, maybe they're not being heard, right? And so that's a separate issue we're gonna get into, but it also links to reducing bottlenecks, and that's what we have here. When it takes 5 days to get a business license or longer, I know we have the one stop. There's different permitting, and then, but there's other ways. Every agency should do a line weighting analysis and process, like really look at the process, how we can use technology and mitigate some of these queuing stuff. And we can say that, it costs a lot, IT, all of that, but just being down there at the multi-purpose and signing all those public official forms, by day 2 we already looked at the line on how to mitigate and make it move faster. So there's low tech ways to improve this, and I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm just saying sometimes when we're working within our own department, we're not connected to the bigger picture of things. So this bill is really to remove bottlenecks that in turn reduce costs, and I believe everyone here at our table kind of already said what the goal. They're in line, like based on their comment, they're in line with the intent of this bill, because the goal is is not to make money from permits, but to help increase the business's BGR so that, that's the bigger number that we need to work on. And maybe even that we need to change, but more study. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So I appreciate the explanation and the backstory to all that. I'm still kind of unclear whether or not this is applicable to businesses that are just relocating from one location to another, or does this also apply for a business, a small business, an entrepreneur who is expanding, right?
So basically with this, once you have a business license, like someone on Rhoda should be able to sell on Saipan. Someone on Tinian should be able to sell on Saipan.
Got it, because that was my next follow-up question, whether or not, if let's say they obtain a business license here,
Yeah.
and then, things are good, they're doing well,
And
and
then
they
when-
decide to open a business in Rhoda for the same line of business, would that require them to obtain another business license just to do?
It shouldn't, like this, that's the goal
So
of
this
this
is
too.
Commonwealth-wide?
It's a Commonwealth business license. Unless we want to go into like what other counties have, which the business license is issued by the municipal government, we can do another law that like Rhoda only, Saipan only, but the goal is, this resource is, it helps the whole Commonwealth, so the businesses should be able to sell Commonwealth-wide.
Okay.
And it just makes it easier for commerce within the 3 senatorial districts.
Right. And that's fine for like e-commerce, right? Because like if you're doing business here and you want to sell products to people on the island of Rhoda or Tinian, then you should be allowed to do that. But what about for those businesses who want like a physical location for the same line of business? Would they be covered under this law now that we are proposing to?
So the intent is more like optional. Like let's say you do want to have a different LLC at a different location.
Not a different LLC,
Okay.
same business, right? So like McDonald's,
Right.
they have 2 locations here, and let's say they want to expand into Tinian and Rhoda. Would they need to now get another business license to do a business physically in those municipalities? I'm trying to make
So-
sure that the language is clear so that there's, no misunderstanding.
Yeah, and so the intent is no.
Okay,
Like if they have a business license for, like a McDonald's, they should be able to operate on all 3, unless they want to have a separate business license for that location.
okay.
What I'm saying is, we're not saying you cannot,
Right. No.
but what we're saying is leave it up to the business to make
Because-
that business decision.
And I'm trying to clarify that, right? Because
Yeah.
I think the way it is right now is that, let's say McDonald's in Middle Road would have one business license, and then the one in Garapan also has another business license, still under the same parent company, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe business license can clarify further.
So the way I'm reading the law, it's pretty straightforward. So if I want to start a grocery store business, I will go get a business license for a grocery store.
Okay.
And I'm not dedicated to one village location. So I can open up a grocery store within the CNMI.
Got it.
So I can open up a grocery store in Rhoda, Saipan, and Tinian
Okay.
with that one business license.
So is that the existing policy now or regulation?
No, that's the Senate
That's what the
bill.
bill's proposing?
Yes.
Okay. So the way it is right now is that you gotta get a business license per location, and you're trying to streamline that and,
The way it was before wasn't like that. What I want to do is go back to the original
got it.
one, because that doesn't exclude you from still getting the other permits that you're gonna need for that location.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so if you have like, let's say a DPW, you're gonna have to do DPW for Yarpan and DPW physical location for Chalacano if you have 2 separate. But the business license, it's up to you if you wanna just use one.
Okay.
I have a question.
It helps for the small to medium size.
Mm-hmm.
But then as they grow, then that's when they can start, organizing them separately.
Sure. Okay. JD, you had a question?
Yeah.
Go.
Thank you for the clarification. It was really that's how I was interpreting the Senate bill, and when we were writing the comments for it, the only thing that really came up as thinking of it from a one-stop perspective is each agency that does permits and such, for example, fire code, building safety code, environmental health, they all need to inspect each location. Now, if they're let's say that they have one business license and they have 3 locations under that one business license. The only thing we ask is for explicit language in the law that says even if you have one license, you'd still need to get the permits for each location based off of those licenses. And that's why it would be really important to track those locations and on the business license side, and also enforce that they need to go and get permits for each site, each location, because one location might not be in compliance with a permit while the other would be. So
I think that's a great point. We want, we always want to make sure that first and foremost, safety is a number one priority, right? And so if a business is conducting its operations in multiple locations, I think it's great that we're consolidating, that one business license, but still enforcing and, requiring that the other permitting agencies, right, still conduct their required assessment and stuff like that. So, Senator Cruz.
Just clarification. So you mean the intent of the bill is to have, even it's multiple location but one business license? You mean what you're saying about permit is if they don't get those permits from the regulatory, you will not issue the license?
So they get issued the license first before they can go and get those permits. So they would get the license. The way that it's practiced now is they get one business license per location, and each license is tied to a different permit per location. So the license comes first before you can even get a permit. That's why if you go to, for example, get your building safety code permit, you need to bring that business license tied to that location in order to actually be processed for building code. And now if we're having one license for 3 locations, it would just need to be, you just need to, it could be done administratively to make that clear.
I guess that's not a problem, because if you issue the license up to the vendor, if they don't comply with the regulatory, they will not allow them to do the business. But the point there is just to be able to give just one license for different location. And if they don't comply with that, then anyway, even they have the license, they will not, right? So I think there's no problem with this. It is them. The vendor should get all those ready. So I think there's no problem with the bill. Just get one license per for multiple location, and if you don't comply with the regulatory, then anyway, if you don't have a license, you're not gonna build it in Yarapan or in Cobbler, and if you have it in Susupi, it's just Susupi because you comply with the permit. If you don't have those permit, then if you don't have one license for multiplication, that will not happen if you don't get the permit. So I don't think there's a problem with the bill, right? That's up to the vendor. So if you wanna have that multiple location with one license, then the bill is there. But if you don't comply anyway, even though you wanna have multiple and you don't comply, then
then they close down that one site, right?
So
Because they're not complying with it.
To allow to have.
I see what you're saying.
I supported the bill because with this economic situation we're having now, we're gonna put the burden on the. We want them to continue the business to continue to open and continue to, even though, they're not making that much and not providing much revenue, but at least there's something going to the government rather than zero.
Yep, that's true.
Regulations should address that already.
That is required.
If I may just add quickly, I mean, anything that allows businesses to be more efficient and focus on just running their business as opposed to being worried about constant regulatory over and over. If there's any way for us to make that more efficient and allow them to do it like what you're proposing now, even the multi-year business license, that would be great, because then the businesses can just focus on running their business as worried about the constant regulatory every single year, which they got to prepare for months in advance. So I love that aspect of the bill.
In addition to what I said, is there any problem with multiple location, one business license with QC? That will not affect QC?
With QC, no, because the benefits will still be they would still need to identify the specific locations.
The same
yes,
person,
exactly.
right? The same
Yes,
business
there's still
owner?
protections in place. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
This is Smasi. Senator Cruz, those are some really great points that you raised. So again, just still trying to clarify. Oh, sorry, Director, did you have something to add?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So during COVID, when we were cutting costs around the government, business license took a big cut on funding from our general fund. And that resulted in, removing our purchasing licenses to issue out. And, when the printer broke down, we couldn't pay to replace the printer as well. And you've seen the changes in what our business license looks like today, right? Very different from the way it looked before. And that was all due to cost cutting. So, and as Senator Manny Castro mentioned, permitting fees are not meant to be, generate tons of revenue, but they are fees and it should fund the service. So I believe with the business license fees being, paid to the business license office for the issuance of a business license, some of those fees should at least fund the service in, purchasing good licenses to issue out, purchasing a printer, purchasing ink, just to fund the service. Because right now business license is lacking all that. They are pulling from the general fund for that. Actually, no, there are very few funding is going to business license right now. So if we could get some of those fees to fund the service, that'll definitely also help with, providing a better service to the businesses.
So that's a great point, Director. And actually, that was my next question. I know that in the bill, it stated that, it would have minimal to no negative impact, right? But looking at it from that standpoint, where right now the business license is generating, minimal revenue from the collection of these business license applications. If we start consolidating these licenses, which again, I fully support the bill, because what we're trying to do is streamline the process and make it as easy as possible for businesses to conduct their operations without a lot of the red tape. I just wanted to make sure, and verify that, that there isn't that much of a financial impact or burden onto business license.
So I think the last report I saw was 900,000 in business license fees per year. And the majority of businesses get 1, 2, or 3 licenses. And then there are those exceptions, like the hotels that get 26 business licenses issued out. So yes, there will be a significant reduction in that.
So when you say significant, has the revenue and tax or business license done an analysis, a fiscal impact analysis, to identify and determine what those numbers reflect, right? Because if you just gave an example, like the hotels, they have like 26 different licenses for maybe different lines of businesses. But for other businesses that, like, let's say have 3 different locations but same line of business, I'm sure you guys can extract data to give you guys an idea how many of those types of businesses exist in the CNMI, and when this bill moves forward, what kind of impact are you looking at as far as revenue reduction because of the, the consolidation of business licenses?
I would have to talk to our programmer and see what kind of data he can extract from the system and consolidate them by industry code. So I'll have to see if we can get that data together.
Okay.
But yeah,
I mean,
overall 900,000, and if the majority of the businesses get 1 or 2 licenses, so that should just cut. I don't want to guess.
I mean,
I can get the numbers.
Yes. And I think it's important that we have this discussion, right? Because as much as we all support the bill, we also want to make sure that we are doing, the responsible thing and ensuring that it's not impacting one over the other. That just means that we probably have to find alternative ways to generate revenues to assist the business license, with its funding needs for its operation. Again, looking at the big picture, it makes a lot of sense, but we also still need to be responsible and ensure that, that when we are taking away revenues from this side of the equation, that we are, providing them with some resources as well to continue, right, and maintain the operation. So that's all. I just wanted to kind of get an idea, numbers-wise, what kind of impact are we looking for? Whenever we use words such as significant impact, right, that worries me, it concerns me, because I would like to tie that to some data and some analysis to show what that significant impact is. We see it all the time when a lot of the committee reports that this bill will, blah, 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 significant, but there's really nothing behind it to show us what that really means and what the real impact will do, right? And then we go on and we make these decisions and we vote on it, and then we come back. So a good example is Public Law 22-1, right? Intent is great, right? But the one area that was lacking was the funding source to ensure that, CEDA carries out its mandate. So, here at the Senate, we try to be very diligent and responsible and careful about, the decisions that we are making, and making sure that by the time that we push these bills out of the committee and on the floor for the entire body to vote on it, that, we truly did do our due diligence, we asked the right questions, and we are responsible for the product that we are putting out there, so that when it gets to the House, there's not so much work for them to do on their end. Yes, they can go through the process of vetting the bill and making sure that we didn't miss anything, but we really do try our best here at the Senate to be responsible and put out a product when we feel that it's ready. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, but I think Senator Manny, you had something to add.
Thanks, Chairwoman. So at this moment in time, does Business License Office get any earmarks from that 900,000 that you mentioned? Zero, right?
Yes, 100% of the fees go into the general fund.
Right. So I think the work we need to do on our side, which unfortunately the Senate doesn't really, that's more on the House side. But it's like I said, it's this trend that I see even when I was in the House. Like we need to fund the cash, the cash where the cash flow is being generated. So like, just being at the multi-purpose center for the past week and a half and seeing all the landlord verifications, and I was like, that's a sketch, right? Meaning that I guarantee you a lot of these guys don't have probably are not paying BGR and all of that. But my job there is just to prove that they're a resident. So I look for other forms like a CUC bill. But the number of I would say like close to 70% to 75% sketch. And that's not Tax and Rev's fault. It's because the appropriations are not being made enough to support enforcement, training, and also address, right? If we put money into our physical address infrastructure, and making sure that it's all aligned, then there will be no need for a public official to be signing all these documents saying that yes, this street is on this lot and it's owned by that person, as verified in this deed. It's all infrastructure, and so I'm trying to tie this back to that. I think the real work is, we shouldn't be making money off of the permits. We should be making, helping the businesses grow, and when they grow, they pay BGR, and when that BGR is paid to our government, we adequately appropriate money to the agencies that are tasked with the burden of carrying out the mission of collecting revenue and so I thank all your departments for everything that you're doing despite the limited resources, but let's continue to focus on what we can control, and we can control the regs. We can deregulate a lot of the regulations that are not making sense in given this economic challenge that we're facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You guys have any comments? Okay. If we could just go to page 3, on line 25, letter I. So there is hereby established a revolving account for the Department of Commerce, for which the Secretary of Commerce shall have the expenditure authority. The account shall be established by the Department of Finance, and the account shall serve strictly to pay for the Department of Commerce's annual membership dues to National Association of Insurance Commissioners. Fees collected under subsection D above shall be deposited into the revolving fund account to accumulate enough funds to cover for the annual membership dues. Any funding lapses from this account shall be transferred to the CNMI general fund. So I just wanted to clarify, there's going to be a revolving fund account established under this bill, and any collections from the business license applications is what's gonna go into this account?
Yes, but I don't know if we should put Secretary of Finance. Are we, Council, are we able to put Director or? Because they might reprogram.
This is the existing law. We didn't change this.
Can I-
Maybe that's an issue.
So, yeah, I mean, I think if there's, we're lacking funds to provide to licensing to carry out, its daily operations, maybe this could be the mechanism that we use to allocate, from this revolving fund account to provide some funding source to business licenses. Is that something that we can consider to do, Council?
Yes. I'm just wondering, what's the price of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners? What's the fee?
So this is, as me and Director were kind of talking about this. This law was created during the time which the business license office fell under the Department of Commerce. So this language is kind of this language is a little
'cause
obsolete at
I
this time.
was-
We do have a revolving account under the insurance section, which we utilize to pay for the insurance fees.
Right, and I'm just trying to tie the intent of the bill, which is for business licensing.
Yeah.
And then when we got to this section of the bill, it's funding the insurance.
Yeah.
So I would,
According to our legal counsel, this section here is obsolete ever since business license transferred to
right, I would
finance.
assume, yeah.
And it just never got removed at that time.
I mean, so this is the perfect opportunity to remove, but not just remove it, but
Change it.
change it and allocate it to business
Revolving
license, if
It's a great idea.
if the author is okay with that. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so it looks like we found one solution to that problem. It may not be as much as what the business license needs to fully fund their operations, but it's one source that we can identify right now that can start going to the business license office. So, council and LA, can we make the necessary changes to amend? Is it amend or just make amend section I or letter I? And I guess just instead of Secretary of Commerce for the insurance portion of it, to give it to the business license office, and perhaps maybe the expenditure authority would be Secretary of Finance. I mean,
Secretary of Finance.
okay.
Yes, it all falls under Secretary of Finance.
Okay. I mean, what I'm thinking about is think about how things change so often, right? Depending on the people in the powers to be, and what we want to make sure is that there's continuity. And so, regardless of like how business license used to be under Commerce, and then it was transferred over to Department of Finance, right? Like we want to
Yes.
make sure that when we are making decisions like this, that it won't interrupt or disrupt the daily functions and operations of the office. And so, I mean, but I understand right now that Secretary of Finance is the expenditure authority for everything underneath, the department.
Correct.
So, but if we're okay with the Secretary of Finance as the expenditure authority, it's fine by me. Senator Manny.
Yeah, so nothing against Secretary of Finance, but she's a pretty busy person. He's and if it was a he would be a
Yes.
pretty busy person. And usually, it should be department heads or directors that have expenditure for the direct operations, not the really top. Just to get.
I agree.
So maybe, Council, I think we've done it before for like DLNR, like Parks and Rec, or is it always? Well, I mean, I know we're on the Senate side now, but
No,
like,
but for Parks and Rec, it is the director of Parks and Rec that has the expenditure authority for a lot of the appropriations that
Yeah.
we,
and that's why he's able to move.
yeah. So is that something that we can consider in here where so business license is under revenue and tax, or?
It's under Rev and Tax.
Okay, so maybe then the director of Rev and Tax instead of the Secretary of Finance. That way we remove, that layer and the gap, right? As Senator Manny had stated earlier, the heads of departments are extremely busy, and we cannot bombard them with small decisions like this that can just move quickly. If we can redirect some of those authority to, the directors, right? That's one layer of approval that we can take away.
And Chairwoman, the directors, I believe, are civil service, unless that's changed.
Yes.
So for the most part, it's like the continuity.
Yes,
right? The
okay. There's stability there.
Secretaries change every administration, so
Okay.
it just makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would totally support that, giving the director the expenditure authority. Okay, so short recess. Hello. Okay, we rise back from recess. It is now 12:47. Senator Manny, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would like to offer a motion to make amendments to Senate Bill 24-57 as SD1. On the first page, line 2, remove the word general. And also on line 8, remove the word general. Line 13 and line 19, remove the words general. And then on page 2, line 7, remove the word general. Line 10, remove the word general. Line 20 and line 21, remove the word general. Then on line 23, item 1, remove the entire portion of that. So that will be everything on line 23, line 24, and line 25 of page 2 to be removed. Line 26, remove the word "and" temporary. On page 3, line 25 and line 26, remove the words Department of Commerce, for which the Secretary of Commerce. Then on line 27, remove the word have. Line 28, remove the word and the account shall, remove the words and the account shall. Line 29, remove everything on that line. Line 30, remove everything in that line. And then, or no, line 30, just remove National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And then right after item D, remove the number 4. So on page 3, line 25, it should read, there is hereby established a revolving account for the Business License Office, and the Director of the Division of Revenue and Taxation shall be the expenditure authority. The revolving account shall be established by the Department of Finance. Fees collected under subsection D, and then we move on to page 4. Above shall be deposited into a revolving account. And then, so on that, page 4, line 1, remove to accumulate enough funds to cover, and remove the annual membership dues. On line 2, any funding lapses from this account shall be transferred to the CNMI General Fund. Remove that on line 3. And I believe that is my motion.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been offered and seconded. All those in favor say aye to all the relevant amendments that were made to Senate Bill 24-57, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. We now move on to short recess. We now rise back from recess. We just, a motion was offered to amend this bill and was seconded. We now move back to the main motion for the committee to adopt Senate Bill 24-57 SD1. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Motion to adopt Senate Bill 24-57 as Senate Draft 1.
Thank you. A motion has been offered and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. And I would like to ask the legal counsel and the LA to please prepare the committee report necessary to include in the next Senate session for action. I think that's all we have on our agenda today. If I can get a motion to adjourn this meeting, that would be great. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn today's meeting, subject to the call of the chair.
Thank you. A motion was offered to adjourn today's committee meeting and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Today's committee meeting is hereby adjourned at 12:54 p.m. Thank you, senators and LB staff, for your support today.